When installing an accessory dwelling unit makes sense in your backyard. Hi, this is Home Guru Lab. I'm David Hartman. And here we have a special guest with us today, Remy. This is Remy, our special guest star. So you want to install an accessory dwelling unit. Good chance you're in luck. 33 of 50 states have at least one city or municipality that allows for an accessory dwelling unit to be installed. Remy, it's over there. That includes the city of Washington, D.C., and even areas of Canada. First off, we suggest you make sure that your lot size is big enough. Minimum lot varies from location to location, but you could look up on Redfin or Zillow to see how big your lot is and at least get that perspective of whether your lot would start to qualify. Next, consider the topography of your lot. Is it hilly? Is it on the side of a mountain? Is there just a little bit of a slope? Some of those would be fine. It just depends upon the foundation and what can be viable. Each local municipality will have different regulations, but do be aware of any natural water flow. Often blocking a water flow, whether it be a man-made trench or a natural stream, whether it's dry sometimes a year or not, can cause problems down the line. And this is something that you want to be aware of. Second, you want to be concerned about where the power lines are, where you're going to be able to draw the sewer line, the water line, the electrical supply. And why power lines are also important is what you'll be able to bring onto your property. Often power lines could be an issue when you're bringing in large equipment and things like that. And they're very expensive to take down if it has to happen many times, and many municipalities won't let you take them down at all. And you should distinguish between the power lines and data lines that are just hung from telephone pole to telephone pole, because the data lines are going to be different. The power lines you usually can't touch without a lot of money. Also, when considering about power lines, you want to see if any of them run close to your property. Do you have a power pole or telephone pole on your property? Do they run very close to your property border? That could be a sign you have what's called an easement, which means that the utility company has the right to come on your property and you can't build in that area. So it's like if someone just subtracted a portion of your property from you. If that's the case, you may need some professional advice on what area you can't build in. An architect or an engineer would be able to advise you whether you have an easement on your property. Next, what is on your property? Is it just an open piece of land? Do you have a lot of trees? Is there an old garage or barn? Even an outhouse? What's there? Are you planning on putting it in a basement or in an attic? Are you adding it onto your house, like an addition in a sense? Those are all very important things because each one's going to determine the different attributes and problems that you run into. In my neighborhood, there's a lot of pools. To fill in a pool, it's a big process. You'll get a few bids to fill in the pool, and someone will always give you a low bid, and someone will give you a high bid. You never want to go with the low bid, and it's not because they're going to do a bad job. But to build on that pool, when you have to fill it in to add your accessory dwelling unit, it has to be stable. And to do that properly, you have to go slowly and work with your local municipality. So make sure when you're thinking about obstacles like a pool or an old garage, what are going to be the consequences of removing it and what you end up having to do. So if you have something on your property that you need to remove or demolition, think about what it's going to take and speak with a professional on that matter. In my area, demolitioning a small garage that holds 2 cars, it could simply be a cost of $5,000. But like I mentioned before, a pool is going to be a lot more complicated. In certain areas, you're going to have to worry about where your runoff goes and whether you have a local stream or river nearby. This gets a little bit complicated and is outside the scope of this conversation. It's more common in rural areas, like some areas of Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. Next up is trees. In many cities and states, there's protected trees that you absolutely can't cut down, and you have to actually build a certain distance from that. To get a complete list that's up to date of protected trees by state and city, click the link below. We'll be happy to get that to you. Fire suppression. You need to consider what's going to happen if there's a fire. In some areas, you can build your accessory dwelling unit closer to another present structure if you fire rate the accessory dwelling unit to a certain level. So that fire suppression is really important. Plus, you're going to need to work with your local fire department, because if your city tells you, yes, the fire department still needs to check off. In certain areas of the neighborhood, they have something called hose pull. It's the distance from the curb to where your accessory dwelling unit or any structure on your property. The fire department might come out and say, hey, we can't build that because the hose pull is too long for our hoses from our truck in case of a fire. If each local fire department has a different way of measuring it, it's not always a straight line. It could be around obstacles. So talk with your local fire department about that. Yes, it's called hose pull. Go figure. Last and least, and sometimes not exactly the most obvious, is go talk to your planning department. They're a wealth of knowledge. Just be patient with them, because there's a lot of people that are coming in and asking them many, many things. But speaking with your planning department, they'll tell you whether your property is zoned or not to build an accessory dwelling unit on your property, even if you don't own the property. California, there's a good chance that accessory dwelling unit can be built on your property regardless of where you are. But many other states, they have tighter regulations and restrictions. So, if you like what you've heard here today, click the like button, maybe drop a few comments, and subscribe. This way you won't miss out on any important content that I have prepared for you. This is Home Guru Lab, and I'm David Hartman. And this is Remy.